I'm going to let you take it away, girl.
Okay, so I don't know who else has experienced this, but just say no, like the drug campaign, because it is not good. And
The drug campaign?
Yeah, dare to not do drugs. You know how they say like just say no?
Yeah.
It's the same when people start coming up to you and they're like, "Oh, I really wanted to have a natural birth, but then and they just like vomit their horrible story onto you.
Their fear. Yeah. They start to project it. So you're saying just say no.
Yeah, you just have to say no.
Say no to drugs and say no to people projecting fear onto you.
Fear. Any fear.
Any
but
fear,
especially
really.
The birth story.
Okay. Once you're pregnant, I feel like everybody wants to tell you all the scary pregnant things that they've ever heard in their life.
Why is that?
I don't know. Even if they didn't experience it, they're like, oh, I saw on the news one time that somebody read a story about a friend of theirs who knew somebody who had a neighbor that had a bad birth experience.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you telling me this?
Yeah.
I don't want to hear this.
Yeah. Or like, oh, you want to have a natural birth? So my friend wanted to have a natural birth, but it was so painful for her, so she opted for the epidural. Right. It's like, cool. That's cool for her, but just say no.
Like, I don't want to hear it.
Tell them about how you like literally stopped the lady in the story.
Well, okay. I think it's interesting because we're going to give you both of our perspectives on, I chose to have a home birth and you chose to have a hospital birth. And I mean, either way, people are throwing fear like it's a baseball game.
Shade.
Like they throw shade.
Okay, it's like throwing shade, but you're throwing fear.
Yeah.
Don't fear fuck me. Whoops, sorry, that just came out.
So I had this one instance at the dog park where this one woman asked me like, oh, who's your doctor? And I was like, oh, we have a midwife. We're doing a home birth, so we don't have a doctor. And she just started telling me this scary story. And I mean, I didn't even let her like get there. I literally was like, I gotta go in the middle of her sentence. And I just walked away. I was like,
yeah,
I don't want this. Like, I don't want to hear about this. I'm just gonna create this boundary that I don't need to listen to this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And that's why we're sharing this mostly, because you can do that too. I realized that I was letting people share their stories with me, and then what was happening was I was starting to get like, absorbing, oh my gosh, what if I do have like such pain that I can't handle it? Like that started coming into my experience. So now I do tell people, I don't go, just say no, but I'm a little nicer about it. But I do say, like, I don't want fear in my experience. Like, I don't need to hear your story, or please don't tell me your story.
Yeah.
Everyone just wants to be heard, I guess, but you gotta just...
Yeah, this isn't... I feel like of all the times in your life, this, especially, like, when you're pregnant, it's so important to... really see like what you're absorbing.
Yeah.
Like what stories, what fears. And I mean, personally, I'm trying to be as like, not cautious, but just aware of the kinds of energy that I'm picking up and absorbing. Yeah. Right? Because like, it's not just for me, it's for this other soul as well. Right.
That's really great. I noticed like, side note, but not really because it's the same topic. I don't want to watch some of the TV shows.
Yeah.
I remember like Game of Thrones was ending right as we were pregnant, right?
Oh my God.
And I remember watching that war one, and I had to leave the room. I was like, I can't watch this. Yeah. Like it's too much.
Yeah.
I can't. The violence is just like, no.
Yeah.
The baby's like
too much. Yeah. Like why? Why are we filling our minds with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Even music. I feel like there's certain things that I don't want to hear anything with like a negative message, or I don't want to hear sad songs. Like, I'm just like, why would I listen to that? Oh, I just want to hear happy things and things that like make me feel good.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. I feel you on that. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about why you chose a hospital birth?
Yeah. Why did I? I'm just kidding. So I chose a hospital birth because it just felt right for me. You know, I did some like intuitional thinking about it. I do know that I want to have the experience of a home birth at some point in my life, but this go around just felt right to do a hospital birth. However, I was clear after reading some of our Kundalini books. We need to find out what that book's called so we can share it with them.
The Gurmukh book?
Yeah. Do you know?
Blissful, Beautiful, Bountiful.
I think so. Yeah. By Gurmukh.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Okay,
we'll make sure we know.
But it was really great because she said, make sure, I mean, I wouldn't have known this stuff, to be honest with you. But she said, make sure you ask your doctor, like, this list of questions, like, what's your C-section rate? So my vision is to have most of my laboring happening at home. Yeah. And then moving to the hospital and having a natural birth at the hospital.
Right. So and you want to have a doula with you.
Yeah, I'm going to have a doula with me.
Would she come to the home?
Yeah, she'll be at the house and then at the hospital. Another thing that's really important is make sure if you do want a doula that your hospital allows you to have like a doula in the birthing room, because some hospitals, every hospital has different rules. So I don't know like the full scope of a doula. Because I obviously haven't experienced it yet, but I know that intuitionally I really wanted someone who was very grounding and motherly in the room to be my, almost like my advocate. So there's a couple things about doulas. So my mom's passed, otherwise I'd have her in the room. Okay. I think. So for me, it's just like this really motherly energy of someone who's like supporting you and also giving your partner like room to be with you, so that if things do happen that are like even simple complications, like they keep coming in and checking your blood pressure, you know, the doula knows what to do to like keep you in the surrendered state to be able to have the natural birth. Or if they are trying to push like C-section or epidural, the doula is really, you know, she's not in the place of giving birth, so she can really be your advocate and say like, no, that's not the plan, we're going this route.
Right, because she's going to know your plan. She knows what you want. And like you said, like when you're giving birth, you know, I think it's easy for the doctor or even the midwife to kind of give you all these options. And it's like, how do you weigh those options when you're in the middle of something like that? Yeah, when you're in the middle of birth, exactly. So you talk to your doula about it before so that she can kind of like, you know, I'm sure she communicates with you, but she knows what you want going into it. Right. So she can be there so that it's not like all on your partner either. Right. Or on you.
Yeah. 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 And they really help you with like staying in the surrendered space and your breathing, and like if you need to have your hips squeezed, and they know like
pressure points on your back. Yeah.
They're like your spiritual cheerleader.
Yeah.
You know? They're your doula.
Your doula. But that's what
it just feels really supportive, and I want to have that extra support for my first birth, for sure.
Absolutely.
So but yeah, I think the other just important things to share about if you're going to have a hospital birth is to find a list of questions that really feels like good for you to ask not only your doctor, but also I toured the hospital because I wanted to feel the energy of it and like what the nurses were like. And for me, I want to have essential oils in the room and a salt lamp and, you know, a Reiki, maybe like someone coming to give me Reiki and a doula. So you want to see how many people they'll let in the room. Right. What's their, like, how long do they let you go before they induce you? Like, you want to be empowered and know exactly what's happening so you can really create how you want your birth to go. Yeah. So,
because one thing I've realized, because even though I'm not going with a hospital birth, I did have one appointment with a doctor. And I realized that even in just that one appointment, they really focus on all the things that could go wrong. Mm-hmm. And they start infusing this fear into the process that almost like plants the idea of you might need a C-section. Yeah. You might need these drugs. You might need this at some point. So you start to kind of become like almost a victim to that fear. And of course, if you're in that fear zone, you're more likely to not be able to have a natural birth, right?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, your body literally, if it's in fear, it's closing up, it's contracting.
Yeah.
And when you're in labor, you're wanting to be in that expansive, surrendering kind of place.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I think that's, if that's like what your intuition is telling you to go to the hospital birth, it's just good to be really aware of the different ways that they can kind of like infuse fear, because you experienced that, right?
Oh my gosh, so much. Yeah, with so many things. I experienced fear with oh gosh, this could go on forever. I experienced fear with the genetic testing that's offered, and like just the process of that. I experienced fear in them. This is another really great thing to realize, but them wanting to do multiple ultrasounds all throughout your pregnancy. And even when I go in, also they want you to come in like every 3 weeks,
Yeah.
For what? You know what I mean? The last time I was in the freaking doctor office for literally 5 minutes, and they have this little ultrasound machine that checks the baby's heart rate. And I mean, I'm not a scientist. No one knows like I did some research on it. No one knows exactly if it's like good or bad for the baby, but there are some studies that say like it's very loud for the baby. The ultrasound is like the baby's like feels like they're in a train station. So do we know if that's bad or good? I don't know, but it doesn't feel like intuitionally that's like a comfortable experience. Like it feels like, could you imagine you're like hanging out, like sucking your thumb, and then it's like shocking, So if you are, it's just like a really empowered space to like realize like you don't have to have that little Doppler, I don't even know if that's what it's called, checking you every time. And the last time I told them, I don't want that anymore. Do you have something else you could use? And they did. They haven't had an old school like stethoscope that they could just listen to the heart.
Yeah.
So,
which is just as good.
Right.
Right. It works just as well.
Yeah, it works just as well. And I think there's just like this experience, as I know, like I said before, if I didn't read these books, I would have gone into this just trust a lot of people. And it's not wrong to trust your doctor, but you just trust the doctor, trust the medical system, and do whatever they say. But then you don't have any power over what's going on for you and your body,
Yeah.
And then there's also a lot of fear around, what's the last thing I had fear? Oh, so in my last ultrasound, thank God everything was fine. It was with the genetic testing. So there was already that like fear there. And then of course at the end, they're like, everything looks great. And you have, your placenta is low lying on your cervix. It's probably going to be fine. As it grows, the placenta will rise, but we should do an ultrasound in 4 weeks to see where it's at. So then I'm again like, because like it could really hurt your baby. If you have sex and the placenta's low, you could like, potentially have bleeding from the placenta. So that's already like another fear, right?
Right.
And then on top of it, she's like, and if it doesn't move up from the from the cervix, you'll have to have a C-section.
Right.
So it's just like
these
more
little,
things to worry about, more things to worry about. So then it's like some people would trust that and be like, well, can't have sex for the next 6 months and gotta keep getting
and gonna have a C-section.
Yeah. So it's just a lot of fear.
Because all of that is like, this could happen, this might happen. Usually it does this, but it might not. Like it's like they're just guessing at that point. And it's, I mean, your body more than anyone, especially when they're just coming in for 5 minutes to like, So it's important just to be empowered and know that you don't have to just do whatever they tell you.
Right.
Of course, like, we're not doctors.
Right.
Consult with a trusted medical physician on this, but, really feel into like somebody that you trust, somebody that you can really like, you intuitively feel guided toward, right?
Right. Like you can shop around for your doctor, excuse me. I'm really excited because my group has 4 midwives and 4 doctors, and they're not all on call. They like do different calls. So I'm for sure going to have a midwife and a doctor in my room. So I really wanted to have like the midwife experience too.
Right.
I see in my my appointments, the difference between the midwives are like super chill and they're like, okay, how are you today? I'm like, Oh, yeah, we totally have the Doppler. And then the last time I went, the doctor was like, we don't use those here. And I was like, well, they used it last time. It was in this midwife's office. And she was like, oh, really? Like, she, I just see, like, the difference between the two. Not that anything's wrong. And I love doctors, and God bless them.
Yeah, of course, we're so grateful.
We're so grateful. But it's just, like, follow your intuition and the feeling around things, you know?
Yeah.
And be empowered.
Yeah. Because for me, I definitely, from the get-go, I intuitively knew, like, I wanted to have a midwife. I didn't want to go the hospital route.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to want to do, like, a birthing center. But then what I found out after starting to talk to some midwives is that the only difference between a home birth and a birthing center really is you're in their facility versus you're at home. They still have all the same equipment that they would have at a birthing center. They just bring it to your home. So for me, that felt really good to not have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And to just be able to, like, relax after, not, to be in my own space. And, like, my partner was also very much on board with doing, like, the home birth experience. Mm-hmm. So, so that's why I decided to go with a home birth. And it's been, it's a completely different experience. I finally found my midwife.
Yeah.
And I'm already, like, almost 19 weeks. So I'm going to have my first appointment with her next week. And, like I said, I did have one ultrasound with a doctor in the beginning.
Sorry.
That's okay. And so just from that was very confirming to me because, he was cool. He was whatever, but there was already a lot of fear being poured into that. And I just knew that wasn't, intuitively that wasn't the space that I wanted to move into.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the same thing with midwives, you have to also be very in tune with who you're drawn to because it becomes such a close relationship. Mm-hmm. You're really spending a lot of time with that person. They're going to be in your home. It's like a very close relationship.
Yeah.
So you want somebody that you really feel really good around, that you can feel like you could be like family around.
Yeah. Totally, that makes sense because they're like with you during the most intimate time of your life.
Yeah, definitely. So again, that book that we'll link in the show notes, it has some questions to ask for the midwife also.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're doing, because there's different ways to do home birth, right? But you're doing water birth?
Well, so with the midwife that I'm going with, it's an option to do water birth. Okay. So the whole thing with they have the birthing tub, or you can use your own tub at home if you're comfortable in it, is it really helps to relax your body. Yeah. So being in water at a certain time of the labor, like, really helps to just relax your contractions. And the more relaxed you are, the easier it can be. And so depending on how you're feeling, some people choose to actually give birth in the water. And some people just labor in the water for one portion. Okay. Yeah. So it really depends. And I have no idea what my body's going to want. Right. So I'll definitely, I don't know. We have a bathtub, but I'm not sure if I'll want to have a birthing tub. I'll know closer to. Yeah. But I do feel like I'll want to do some part of it in the water. Yeah. So, but they say it's a really beautiful transition for the baby to come from the womb into the water. Yeah.
Because that's what they're used to, right? Yeah. The water in the womb.
Yeah. So it's a little bit more of a gentle transition for them. And then, but again, that's something that you don't have to be attached to because you don't know how you're going to want to give birth. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And for me, like, another reason I really wanted to have home birth was just for the freedom of it. Yeah. Like, I really don't like people telling me what to do with my body. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I remember after I went to the doctor for that one ultrasound, I got a call from the office saying that I had to go get another ultrasound at another location. And I was like, but I just had one. And the woman on the phone was like, well, yeah, but that was just like the general basic one. This one is for da-da-da-da-da, you know? I don't even remember what she said. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, it's optional, so I don't think I want to do it. And she's like, oh, no, you have to. And I was like,
oh hell no.
Oh, you're going to tell me what I have to do with my body? I don't think so.
Yeah.
They never heard from me again.
America's like ultrasound freaks. This doesn't happen like in Europe or even in Canada. My fiance's Canadian, and his sister I think she had 2 or 3 ultrasounds during the whole entire pregnancy.
Yeah.
So it's
and
really interesting.
Even I was talking to my aunt the other day and my mom, and they were like, I don't remember having more than 1 or 2 ultrasounds.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's just something that's more recent as we've become really obsessed with monitoring.
And the control, making sure everything's okay. It's like a fear. Maybe it's a fear.
Yeah,
it comes from fear.
But I mean, if you think about it, like the whole idea of pregnancy has changed from this like natural thing that has been happening forever. You know, like giving birth is something that is natural, that like instinctually we know how to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Our bodies know what
and
to do.
It's kind of been turned into this medicalized condition that they almost see it as a sickness rather than just something that's natural.
Yeah.
Right? And they treat it as a disease almost rather than just like, this happens every day.
Yeah.
You know, women everywhere have been doing this forever.
Yeah, that's really interesting too, because I've talked to a few women who are like in this is the worst word ever, the geriatric pregnancy zone, which is like if you're above 35, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like people in India give birth like up until they're 50. Like there's no issue. Like
my grandma had my mom at 42.
Yeah. Here it's like, oh, you're 35, and then they want you to do even more testing and more ultrasounds. It's like fear. It's
dropping
like
fear bombs all over us.
Yeah. You are having a hospital birth and you are drawn to this. We're reading another book, which we're not too far into, but once we'll talk more about it, the Orgasmic Birth book. And it really talks about how, you know, you want your birthing space to feel like home. That's what she advocates, the author advocates home births, which is okay. That's perfect. But it's really true. Like I got a lot of it from myself, even though I know I'm having a hospital birth. Like I do want to make sure that the room is like you want to almost create like an intimate space, like you're going to make love. Like you want to have the lights low and like, you know, very like peaceful and whatever, blah, blah, blah.
And that's not what we see, I think, usually like in the movies and like, you know, when they show births, it's in this like fluorescent lit, bright white room, and it's this woman laying on her back screaming bloody murder.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so true.
And that's like what has been implanted in us since we've been little. Again, it's like more fear. But, you know, ultimately, who benefits from that fear? It's like unfortunately, it's like the doctors, they're making so much money off of giving us all these drugs, doing all these tests, you know, cesarean rates being higher.
It's more the insurance companies than
the
doctors,
insurance, yeah.
But the way that it's set up is like the doctors are more apt to want to give cesareans because the insurance has made it so like that they make more money if they do that. Right? So like, so yes, your point. But I want to just put that in there. It's more the insurance. But then the doctors have to feed into it because like, you know, they want to make money. So it's just like a whole...
It's so interesting. So
every ultrasound is more money.
Yeah.
For the insurance companies, and I don't even think the doctors make money off ultrasounds. But anyways.
Yeah. Who knows? But ultimately it's like, are we benefiting? Are our babies benefiting from all of this fear?
Yeah.
And no, it's not, you know? So I think that that's something to really tune into if you are considering home birth, birthing center, hospital birth, is to really ask yourself, you know, what are you intuitively guided to?
Right.
If you have like different choices between like ultrasounds, testing, and remember, you always have a choice.
Yeah.
Even if the doctor just says, okay, now you need to do this, or now you need to do that, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Right.
Right? Like, that's one thing I really do love about my midwife is everything that she's talked about so far, she makes it very clear that it's my choice. right? So that's really comforting. So
that's lovely.
Yeah, it reminds you of that. But even if you're with a doctor in a hospital, you still have that choice. It's kind of an exercise to like find your voice.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, and to speak up for yourself and ask questions. Don't be afraid to be that person that's asking questions and not just going along with whatever you're told.
Yeah.
Especially if you feel something in your gut, in your womb, and your intuition that's telling you otherwise.
Yeah, and go in with a list, okay? Because you'll forget the question. So, like, go in with a list and also write the answers down. Because I know I've found that I leave the room and then I'll tell my fiance what the doctor said about all the questions. And sometimes I'm like, I can't remember if he said it was this percentage or this percentage. So
you could even record it on your phone, right?
Yeah, you could record it on your phone,
Yeah. I'm sure they're okay with that, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically what we want to say is that, like, you can have your dream birthing scenario, right? Like, whatever that is for you, it's possible. It's totally possible.
Absolutely, yeah.
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 So for our pixie dust, we want to give you 5 steps to manifesting your dream birth. So the first step is... the first step is to get clear on what you want. And I really want to emphasize, like, what you want, right? Like, this is your body, your baby, and it's so important for you to, like, get in touch with your intuition here. Like, do you want to do this in a hospital? Do you want to have a natural birth? Do you want to do this at home? Do you want to have a midwife? Like, what do you want it to look like?
Do you want to do it in the ocean with dolphins? That's also an option.
That is also an option. That is also an option, which I'll probably be doing with my second. I'm just kidding. Probably not.
Who knows?
Maybe if I was a better swimmer, I would consider it. Yeah. But anyway. They say dolphins are the midwives of the ocean.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's
really man, special. I want a dolphin at my birth now. Forget doulas.
She's changing her mind. This also could happen. Wait, just side note real quick. This can also happen. Like, you could be 35 weeks pregnant and be like, like, my intuition's telling me that I want to change my doctor, or my intuition's telling me that I want to have a home birth, and you can do it.
Yeah.
So know that,
you can change your mind for any of these things along the way. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you were wrong before either.
No way.
Yeah, that's not what it means.
Jose.
No way, Jose.
No way, Jose.
So get clear on what it is that you want. Like, I love to just journal it out, intuitively journal by writing at the top of I almost said screen. Writing at the top of the paper or screen if you're typing it out. Like, what is my dream birth? What does my dream birthing situation or scenario look like? And just let yourself, like, fill up the page of, like, the most beautiful birth and labor that you can imagine. Yeah. And allow yourself to be surprised. Like, it might not be what you in your head are thinking that you should have. So really try in this step to, like, detach from the fears of, the projections, even like what your mom says, all of those things, your family's expectations. Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah. Do you want to tell them the second step?
Yeah. The second step is to visualize what we just talked about, your perfect birth experience. And so when you visualize, if you've never done it before, you're closing your eyes and you're really, like, seeing it as if it's happening. Yeah. Like, and as if it's, like, already happened in, like, real time.
Yeah.
And then a really important part that some people forget about during visualization is you want to feel the feeling of it.
Yeah.
Like, when I was visualizing earlier today, I started literally crying when I felt the feeling of, like, having the baby in my arms for the first time, and how much love was present. So visualizing it, and then also feeling the emotions that are there, and doing that as many times as you'd like to throughout your pregnancy journey.
Yeah. Doing that in meditation, and I think it's great, like, when you do that visualization practice to help you feel it, because maybe you're not really able to connect to those feelings just yet. But see if you can connect to the different senses. So rather than just seeing it, visualizing it, like, think about the sounds that you would hear and start to hear those sounds. Think about the smell that you want to smell. Is there a taste in your mouth? What about like the actual physical feelings? Can you start to imagine those things?
Okay.
And the more you like practice connecting with those senses, the more it becomes real, and the more you can start to feel like the emotions that come with it as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So the third one is when you're visualizing. So this might happen when you're visualizing or when you're getting really clear on the dream birthing scenario, is to notice what fears, buts, and what ifs come up. Okay? So fears, obviously, that's obvious. What things come up that you're like afraid of. And of course, these are probably going to be things that you've learned, that you've heard, that you've absorbed through society.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be. Write them down. Just write them down, okay? Also, what buts come up. So maybe you see yourself, giving this like beautiful, or having this beautiful like at-home birth, and you think, oh, this is great, but what if I get really, or what am I saying? But what if it's really painful and I want an epidural? Or what if something goes wrong? It's like the buts and what ifs. Just notice what things come up there, because those are also fears and limiting beliefs that might be a little more deeply buried, right? So just write all of these things down and let yourself witness them. And rather than attaching to them and letting them dictate what you do, recognize that those are fears and limiting beliefs for you to work through rather than to attach to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we tell some
I
of ours?
think we should, yeah. I mean, this is a very real fear that we both share.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them?
Okay. I feel like I'm way more scared of having a bowel movement in front of my partner during this experience.
Pooping?
Pooping than I am about any pain that I'm going to experience during.
I'm pretty sure that was like right after I found out I was pregnant and I saw one of my girlfriends who had a baby. She was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Like, do you have any questions? And I was like, did you poop? That was like the first thing that I asked her. I didn't ask her about anything else. I was like, did you poop?
And she did.
I don't want to share her business.
Oh, okay. We're not talking about her. Well,
Actually, I do want to share her business.
Okay, fine.
I won't tell her name. But she says that the nurse said she didn't. She asked, like, did I poop? And she was like, no, you didn't. But she's like, I'm pretty sure I did. And, like, that she, like, changed it really quick because she, like, saw the nurse moving stuff around at one point. Yeah. And I was like, that's so funny because I'm sure even the nurses know that nobody wants to just, like, shit themselves in front of their partner, you know? Well, or all these room of people.
Yeah. It's so, I've heard that they are so used to it happening that they literally just, it's gone. Like, literally it happens and then it's gone. But that doesn't really give me much comfort.
Okay, you know what I'm terrified of, though? Is being in the birthing pool or the tub and pooping myself. I don't know if it happens. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and then my friend's mom, who's had 3 girls, she was like, I told her this, and she's like, oh my God, you don't get it. Like, your partner is not focused on the poop that happened. They're focusing on, like, their freaking baby's about to come out of their beautiful partner. Like, and I was like, it still doesn't give me peace around.
We're not there yet. So maybe we'll get there.
Yeah. I think I'm just gonna visualize and manifest myself not pooping and feeling what it feels like to not have.
Yeah, to maybe have like a really amazing bowel movement before you go into labor. Yeah.
That's so silly, but it's true. Yeah.
But I will say, I have like other fears that come up around it, just like, what if something goes wrong, you know, like those little things. But I don't feel attached to the fear. I just notice it kind of like flutter by every once in a while. And instead of letting it like take me down a spiral or, changing my mind about things or taking action on the fear, I really try to just be a witness of it. Yeah, that's beautiful.
One other thing that's come up for me that I think is exciting. No, that's not the right word. I need to share it. Is what's come up for me is that like there's this part of me that's like I'm having a natural birth, and like if I do have to have an epidural, like I'm gonna be so hard on myself about it. Like I'm weak or something. Like I've made up that. And then I'm noticing, so same with you. I'm like, I'm not attached to it, but I'm just noticing these little things that come up. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, even just thinking that there's that option, I feel like gives me more apt to like go there.
Right.
Like, okay, I'm going to have a natural birth, but if it's like fucking, I can't even handle the pain, I'll have like, there's that option.
Right. Because you'll be somewhere where they'll have it.
Yeah.
Whereas like I won't have the option even there.
Yeah. That's why I want to do the laboring at home, because there's a certain point that you pass where it's not an option anymore.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's just something that's it's interesting that that's come up where it's like, and no judgment, by the way. Okay. But like that's coming up for me. Like, oh, if I have to have one, or if I do have one, like I'm going to think I'm weak.
Right.
Because that's not what that means, but that's what for some reason my mind's made it mean, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's interesting too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Step 4.
Step 4 is... Okay, so step 4 is, we talked a lot about it this episode, is following your intuition.
Yeah.
Really like, and if you don't know what that means, or you've never connected with that before, for me, what helped me when I really started connecting with it was like feeling what things felt like in my body. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, if you are in a certain experience and you're like, oh, you know, that person, I don't feel like good in this room with this person. Yeah. Like, that's your intuition telling you like, hey lady. Like,
yeah,
you
pay
know?
attention.
Yeah,
right?
pay attention. It's like the feeling, right? They sometimes call it like the gut feeling.
Right.
But it's like that voice that's like, hey, and it's like the feeling in your body. That's what I connect to. Do you connect to something different?
Well, I think that something that helps you to connect to it is to distinguish between fear and your intuition. Mm-hmm. Right? So, you know, step 4 is really about following your intuition and taking inspired action rather than taking like fearful action. So if you are listening to the voice of fear, it's going to feel like anxiety, worry. It's going to feel really urgent, really scary. Yeah. Right? Rather than if you're listening to your intuition, it feels a lot more stable, calm, quiet, right? The voice of fear is usually really loud, whereas your intuition is a little more of a whisper, or like you said, a feeling in your body. Yeah. So this is really about like taking action aligned with your intuition rather than in alignment with the fears that you just uncovered in the previous step. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the last one?
Yeah, the last one is, even though you've just created this amazing birth plan and you're visualizing it, it's to surrender the outcome and detach from it. And a lot of times people are like, wait, what? Yeah. Like I just like got really clear on what I want and now I need to like not care if I get it or not. Yeah. But basically, yeah. Yep. Yep. So it's about really, you know, being in this practice of surrender and letting go helps you to be in that place of receiving, right? If you are always in the kind of like creating, manifesting, doing, projecting mode, then you're in that masculine energy rather than the feminine energy, which is about leaning back and surrendering and receiving. Yeah. So the more you can, like you said earlier too, like the more you can just let go of what actually happens, you know, whether it's like you do end up getting an epidural, even though that's not what you planned, or, you know, things look completely different than what you visualized, knowing that this is what your soul needs in this journey, right? This is what your baby soul needs, you know, to experience coming into this world. And just being in that trust that however it works out is perfect.
Right. And then also on the flip side, but also, I don't think it's a flip side, but it's like another angle to look at it too, is when you surrender and you're open to receive, it could be even better than you were visualizing in the first place.
Yes.
Versus having the like attachment to that one vision, right?
Yeah.
So it's like both of the things, what she just said and what I just said.
Yeah. So it actually reminds me of that mantra, this or something better.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe we add that to step one is like, once you get clear on what you want, you end that with this or something better.
Yeah, I love that.
And knowing that you always receive the something better, you know?
Yeah.
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 So try this out with us. We're going to be doing, we're, I think, kind of always cycling through these steps through the rest of the pregnancy.
Yeah,
but
totally. And you can use, by the way, if you're not pregnant, you can use these exact steps to manifest and visualize like literally anything you want. So anything this is you want. Epic, and you're going to use it for the rest of your life. So
totally.
If you want, we are.
Yeah, try it out.
Yeah, try it out.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you love this, which I'm sure you did.
Yay.
And we'll see you next time.
Mwah.
Bye.
Mwah. Mwah.